7 o'clock, it's time to start the meeting. Can I have a roll call on this, please?
Yes. Egan? Here. Hoffenberg is absent. Mosher? Here. O'Connor?
Here.
Schwartz is absent. Wenting?
Here.
And Case.
Here.
We have a quorum.
Great. Trust everyone has
Read the minutes from last meetings. Any concerns, questions, changes? Yes, go ahead.
I provided the staff with a correction of a typo,
Okay.
but I subsequently moved to accept the minutes with that correction.
Okay. Staff, was there any other conversation with the minutes?
So we just wanted to highlight that we received comments and concerns from someone who spoke at the last meeting. They felt that specific items that they had submitted in comment were not previously addressed. So we just wanted to highlight that. They also had issues regarding to the amount of time they were given and the ability of themselves to represent themselves under the professional designation.
Okay. All right. So noted. Thank you very much. So we have an motion on approving the minutes. Is there a second?
Second.
Commissioner Moser. All in favor of approving the minutes, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? It's our move, or passed. Okay. Welcome, Jeff. You didn't miss anything? Apologies. Okay, today's hearing is Planning Commission Case 285, text amendment allowing the NAICS category 812-113, regardless of distance from other regulated uses on restricted streets. I think we need some clarification on that, so if staff, if you are ready, give us a little presentation, please.
All right, thank you everyone for coming out tonight. This is PC Case 285 by applicant GW LaGrange LLC. So a little bit of background. GW LaGrange LLC has petitioned the village for a text amendment to allow the location of a nail salon. That falls within NAICS category 812-113 on the first floor of a C1 commercial district zoning lot, regardless of the distance from other regulated uses on a restricted street, provided all other applicable requirements of the code are met. So to break that into plain language, they would like to locate a nail salon at 14 South La Grange Road. Under current code requirements, that's not a permissible location because it's within that 400-foot buffer. So we'll get into that as well as the other details of the case.
Okay, great. Questions for staff so far? I guess I do have a question. Going back, and I read obviously notes. I guess it said in 2019 we put this regulation in for a specific reason. Could I?
2009.
2009. I'm sorry, 2009. You're right. Was there a specific reason we were trying to address?
So we went back and we found an audio recording of notes from that previous plan commission. We were unable to find a staff report, so just that recording is our foundation. But it appeared that plan commissioners at that time had concerns about the proliferation of nail salons taking over downtown. They felt that as a business with a relatively low barrier to entry, and due to the economic situation of the country at the time, they didn't want low barrier to entry businesses taking over downtown.
And so what has changed?
So what has changed is that we reviewed that. We felt that, for one, not a great deal of research was done into this at that time. We also examined how Pierre and neighboring communities govern nail salons as a specific use. For instance, a lot of them don't break them out from beauty salons as a whole. So we examined, existing zoning regulations in other communities and compared them to ours.
Okay, great. After that, questions?
Is there a distinguishing code for nail salons versus beauty salons?
There currently is. In 2009, before this text amendment was adopted, there was not. So in 2009, they separated nail and beauty salons, and that stands through today.
Can you enlighten us as to what the differences are in defining those two?
So beauty salons are hair salons, general, they have a little bit more cosmetology. It's a broader use category than just nail salons, whereas within this NAICS code, it's strictly nail salons.
And just to confirm, NAICS code 812113 is only nail salon.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you.
Is there currently restrictions on the beauty salon, the 812112?
There's not, and actually Kevin's got a couple more slides if
Okay,
maybe
great,
you
yeah.
want to entertain a little bit
Yeah.
more of the presentation that outlines some of those.
We do get into that.
Okay. I thought they were done. I don't know.
All right. Okay. So just we want to highlight the existing regulations for nail salons. So they are permitted use in every commercial zoning district, but within the C1 and the C3, they do have additional spacing requirements. Looking specifically at the C1, the additional spacing requirements classify them as a regulated use. So I'd like to highlight other regulated uses as they currently are in the code. So depository and non-depository credit institutions, security and commodity brokers, dealers exchanges and services. So if you're looking at this, you can see a pretty clear distinction. The first two are more financial institutions and then nail salons. So within a regulated use is if it falls within the area bounded by Burlington, 6th Avenue, Cossett, and Ashland, they're not allowed on the ground floor, the first two uses. So effectively, if you're looking at the code right now, the only regulated use that is allowable on the first floor in the C1 is nail salons. So NAICS code 812113. And this is a very long footnote that highlights all of what I just said, but I want to break it down and go into a little bit more detail. So regulated uses, as listed previously, cannot be located or operated on the first floor of a zoning lot on a restricted street within a 400-foot buffer from another regulated use. So, as mentioned earlier, they wanted to make sure that there wasn't just a row of these businesses on a restricted street. So, restricted streets, and I've got a visual in a moment, are LaGrange Road between Burlington and Cossett, Burlington Avenue between Ashland and LaGrange, Callender Court between Ashland and LaGrange, and Harris between Ashland and 6th. So one thing to note was that these regulations do not apply to a business that was established prior to the adoption of that separation code of nail salons. So that was November 1st, 2009. And this visual just highlights what the restricted streets are within the C1 district. And also the cross-hatching is the parcels that have frontage on a restricted street. So this covers the majority of parcels in the C1 district. Before moving further, other uses do have separation requirements, and we would like to acknowledge that. But if you're looking at this table, the majority of these separation requirements only apply if the uses are located on the same street. So for example, an optical goods store with an accessory optometry office, if there were two of them on LaGrange Road, they would have to be 601 feet apart, as opposed to this buffer, which would be a 400-foot radius. So two of these are only allowable with a special use permit. That's the children's indoor recreation, as well as co-working in conjunction with retail sales. And only one use, which is commercial food preparation facilities, has similar separation standards as nail salons. So looking at existing regulated uses within downtown, there is currently one located at 17 South La Grange Road, so directly across the street from 14 South La Grange Road, which is where the applicant would like to locate a nail salon. So within that gray buffer, as the code is right now, no other nail salon will be able to be located. And we call out the distinctions between beauty salons and nail salons. And as mentioned, there was a text amendment that differentiated the two. According to the records we found, 400 feet was chosen to approximate the distance of a block. I found that just scribbled in margins. It appears that the primary motivation, as mentioned, was a concern of a proliferation of similar uses located in close proximity to each other. And based on the recorded conversation, it appeared that the economic state of the country in the wake of the Great Recession was something that was on commissioners' minds. So looking at overall, compare the amount of nail salons and beauty salons in LaGrange, specifically within the C1 district, which comprises downtown, as opposed to located outside the C1 district, the majority of these uses are not located within the C1 district. They are found along other commercial corridors. So as it stands right now, 20% of nail salons within the village are located in the C1, but that 20% represents one business. Also, as mentioned previously, we examined the regulations in other communities. In 2017, there was a market study, and it called out 4 communities, Elmhurst, Geneva, Glen Ellen, and Wilmette within Illinois, as comparison communities. That was due to the urban design of the downtowns, as well as the size and the applicable service, the breakdown of commercial versus service. The downtown compositions were similar, and that's why they were chosen. So we went and examined their zoning code, as well as how many nail salons are present in their downtown compared to overall. So, for example, only one other specifically calls them out as a nail salon. That's Glen Ellen. That also has the highest amount of nail salons present in its downtown, but the majority treat them broadly as a personal service establishment, or they tie them in with beauty shops. So the majority of them, half of them, have regulations, but there's not a grand proliferation of nail salons despite the presence or lack thereof of these nail salons. We couldn't really find any correlation between regulation and amount of nail salons. So looking at text amendments generally, we wanted to review just kind of what they mean. So they're not specific to the subject property or the proposed development. It's a legislative decision within the Plan Commission and Village Board's discretion, and they're not dictated by a strict application of a set of standards, but they look at consistency with the zoning code and the comprehensive plan, as well as the community need for the proposed amendments. So, as a matter of policy, staff does not make formal recommendation in support or against Plan Commission requests such as plan development, special uses, design review permits, site plans, etc., but does make recommendations for text amendments as they are a legislative action. So, staff is recommending approval of the text amendment to the zoning code to section 5-102. We feel that it keeps with the LaGrange Board comprehensive plan and maintains consistency and clarity of the zoning code by improving an existing use regulation. So we wanted to highlight that our thought process behind this was that it was a fairly clearly defined amendment. It's a narrow scope, whereas we examined other communities as well as how they regulated it, and we wanted to keep in line with best practices in zoning regulation. And looking at the 2009, we felt that not as much research was done as could be, and we're taking this opportunity to re-examine the zoning code. So this shows what the edits in the section are. It includes removing references to the footnote. As established earlier, the footnote really only applies to nail salons as a regulated use, as the uses in finance institution and real estate category are not allowed on the ground floor as in the current code. So because they can't be allowed on the ground floor, that buffer doesn't apply. nail salons are the only regulated use to which that buffer would apply. So, in keeping with the spirit of the text amendment to clarify zoning regulations, we also are adjusting this to include removal of that footnote. So, in lieu of that footnote, we do have an additional use limitation in the recommended text amendment. This would be that any nail salon located on the ground floor in the C1 zoning district shall not include suite style arrangements. We just want to make sure that we are maintaining an active and vibrant pedestrian environment. We don't want nail salons to be closed off and prevent that attractive environment from occurring naturally.
For the uneducated, suite style means individual rooms where they can.
Yes, so they will be enclosed, you can't really look in, we just want to keep an open environment.
Or like a beauty salon that you found?
Yes.
Okay, great.
And just as a point of clarification there, with the other uses that aren't restricted uses but have separations and additional regulations about spacing, a common theme that we see in those: waxing salons, optical goods stores with an optometrist office, co-working. They all have that private behind closed doors element, and it's not like a full retail environment. So if the nail salon restriction was going to be lifted, staff felt it was appropriate to ensure that it maintains that real retail feel.
Great. Kevin, is there more?
No, that is it.
Okay, great. Commissioners, more questions for staff? Glenn?
Just to make sure I get the definitions and let me get it straight here. In the packet, we talk about on the first page under general information, we use the term regulated uses with a depository, non-depository, security and commodity, and nail salons, whereas in table 1, it's indicated as separation requirements within the commercial district, which are those additional regulated uses?
No, so the only regulated uses are the nail salon, the depository and non-depository credit institutions, and security and commodity brokers.
All right, which I suppose the obvious question for the, at least, no, it's not obvious, it's because I don't understand it, is the separation requirements on table 1 are in what portion of the code?
Sure. So it's in a couple different places. It's not in the regulated uses footnote.
Yes.
Some of these are written into the description of that use in the use table where you have the permitted or special uses. Some of them have that regulation written into the performance standards for that use, which is a separate section in the commercial district.
So what you kindly have done is consolidate
Yes.
the little gems hidden in the code.
Yes, because although there are no other true regulated uses, as that term is coined in the code, there are other uses that are subject to minimum separation requirements. So we wanted to provide a summary of that for the commission.
Thank you for clearing that up.
Can I just ask one question that piggybacks on that? All of these in table 1 are all on the first floor, right? Okay.
More questions? Pleasure.
Just to add a little color to the feel of the area, do we know anything about the success of the current nail salon at 17? Is it thriving during the day? Are there any issues? Do they plan to be there for a while? Or is there any knowledge?
So I'm not aware, but I go on a daily walk at lunchtime, and when I often go by, I see people in there. So I believe it's active. I don't have access to their data to elaborate on the success of it, but from personal observations, I do see people in there frequently.
Sir, I see you standing. You'll get your chance soon. Okay. Julie?
I have a couple more. In table 3, you've got the other communities. Glen LLC does regulate nail salons. Do you know what their regulation is? I don't know if you that deep into the...
So I do. It was very odd.
I know, well, Glen Ellen requires a special use.
They do
Oh, there
require
are
a special use.
Okay. That's how it's regulated.
And then there's some additional regulations that are a little clunky to try and summarize.
Okay, yeah, fair enough. We're presuming that if this regulation is lifted, no matter where they are, there will always be the retail component that will be required in the first 25 feet of the,
So
how will that work?
that's not currently a requirement for nail salons or beauty salons.
Okay.
And Kevin, you made a comment that you believe that this change would be narrow in scope. Just to clarify that, when you say narrow in scope, you mean because it's only addressing nail salons, right?
Yes.
Not in the sense that if this tax change were to be made, and I'm not suggesting this would happen, but it is something we have to consider, that would mean that by right, any future business owner that operates a nail salon could come without having to come in front of the commission or the board and open up a nail salon as long as they're otherwise in compliance with balance.
Yes, that is correct.
Anything else? Commissioners? No? Great. Do we have an applicant who wants to give a presentation? Okay, before you go ahead, this is a Plan Commission case. Let me get the number again. 285, so we'll be giving testimony to that. Anyone in the audience who is also going to want to give testimony, I have to swear you in, we'll all be sworn in at the same time. This is only pertinent to this particular case. So anyone who's going to talk, do you swear that the testimony you're about to give is the truth to the best of your knowledge?
Yes. Thank you, Commissioners. Thank you, Sherry and Kevin. That, as noted, Mitch Goltz, owner of the property. Been working tirelessly over the last couple of years to develop this as one of our more exciting projects in the pipeline right now. I think the presentation was very thorough. I think for reasons or none at all, the code broke this down a little bit more granularly than most municipalities we work with. We have a full lineup of tenants for this project, including 3 new restaurants coming in, a med spa for the second floor, and a very well-established nail spa on the ground floor. They're taking approximately 4,000 square feet. We did a location with them in Oak Brook that's wildly successful, and this is not going to bear any resemblance to what a salon nearby may look like. So I would say, just generally based on the statistics that were shown, this area I would argue is underserved for this type of use, but nonetheless it's offering a different product, and it's going to be an important addition to the community and to the project. We have no issue with the conditions attached to this text amendment. This is all retail in nature. I have the operator here as well in case any specific questions come up, but I believe the request is fairly straightforward. I think it's a progressive step in redefining the zoning code within LaGrange. We work in municipalities across the Chicagoland area, and this is the first time that this has come up. I would not be worried about a proliferation of nail salons coming to the area any more than I'd be worried about mattress stores filling up the street, as once was a concern for many places. But here to answer your questions. This is an important step for us in getting this project out of the ground, as we're looking to start construction shortly. But I'm here to answer questions, as well as our operator, who would be the one owning the business.
Great, thank you very much. Commissioners, great question. Love to hear more about how far you are along in the building right now.
Yeah, so I believe I probably saw many of you a while back before we closed on the property. Chase has since purchased the land from us and is open for business. We've completed all the demolition inside this building, and it was a more vibrant demo than we're used to. We found all sorts of uncovered gems and obstructions. Some were welcome, some were not. But we've completed the demolition. We're signed with 3 restaurants on the ground floor that will make up the rest of the square footage. We have a medical spa for part of the second floor, and then 7 apartments. So we're looking to pick up our permits and start construction as soon as possible. This is obviously an important piece of it, as it's one of our plans are tailored around our demising plans on the ground floor. We'll have about 8,500 square feet of restaurants to make up the balance of it. We're excited, and this will make a big transformation for this block on LaGrange that I think has been welcomed for quite some time.
And upon passage of this tax amendment, how soon would you think you'd be?
We want to start construction probably right after, probably in the next few weeks. The permits have been going back and forth as they've just been approved, so our work to do the the shell work has been permitted, and we'll look to start right away, and then look to get the tenants into the buildings sometime in the spring, with ideally openings summer next year. So staggered. So
Great.
yeah.
Commissioners, questions? Must have been a great presentation.
Yeah, thank you. The staff did a great job of breaking it down. So
What is the proximity between this and the one across the street? Just curious. Do we have a sense of square footage?
I don't know. I would estimate maybe 100 feet across the right of way. I will also point out, for the record, not that it's relevant today, I mean, there had been a nail salon on calendar for quite some time that closed like a year ago. So, I mean, not to say that competition is a reason to approve or disapprove any sort of ordinance, but I mean, if you look at the size and density of LaGrange, and you look at the amount of businesses that have, you know, competing businesses nearby, I mean, this is grossly understated for what this community can accommodate. And I would tell you that, you know, this is a very different operation than what's out there. These are nearly 3 times the size of a typical nail salon. The price point's higher. They do bachelorette parties, birthday parties. I mean, these are not the kind of things that you see in a typical salon. So she's happy to answer any questions. I welcome you to visit her location in Oak Brook, next to the Costco Center that we developed a few years ago. But you know, people need choices. So.
Great.
Yeah.
Chance? Okay, thank you very much. Anyone else give testimony? Sir?
Public comment time?
If it's about this case, yes.
Thank you. Hi, my name's Randy Valenta. I'm the owner, landlord, and resident at 19 and 17 South La Grange Road, just down the street here. I could answer any questions about 17 South La Grange Road and the nail shop that I might be privy to, and I'd be happy to help you there. That's why I stood up, in case you recognized that, you know, you needed it. Okay. Yeah, the 17 South, just by man of record, is owned by, is rented by, the tenant is a young couple with a couple kids, and they've been in business for a few years. They have been rather successful. They continue to fill the shop and do a great deal of customer service good there. You will find the shop, you know, full at many times, but at times you will find it empty too. It's a surging business. It's kind of like retail, kind of like restaurant, that, you know, ladies and gentlemen want their nails done when it's time to do that. Christmas, prom, you know, that type of thing. I did want to look at the staff memorandum here that was published and bring a couple highlights to bear here as to what was written. Number one, there are additional nail shops in LaGrange right now. In addition to the shop that Matt mentioned that closed, that was open since about 2014. There is a shop on the second floor, mind you, by Lucas. It's a walk up, and they do a pretty good business. Take a look at the Facebook page, and you'll see they have almost 2,000 followers. So we've got some business there. We've got a nail shop across the tracks on Hillgrove, which is doing pretty well. And I would argue that we are pretty well served here in our community, our small community of LaGrange. And I say small community because then I'd like to point out the studies that were done about Glen Ellen and Geneva. I did not look into Elmhurst or Wilmette because, well, I just don't consider them part of the group here. I do have a couple packets. Did you want me to pass those out now or? There's one here that's titled Glen Ellen and one that's titled Geneva. And let's talk about the Glen Ellen one first. They do not have 5 nail shops in their downtown, in their historical business district, and they also have a limited district like we do here. They have 3 actually, and they are all dedicated nail shops. None of those nail shops are closer than about 400, 500 feet. And in fact, one is about a half a mile away because of the length of the concentrated downtown business district. Glen Ellen is slightly larger than LaGrange, and yet they seem to be doing pretty well with the 3. When you go to Geneva, and you'll see that in the packet there as well, they do have 7, I counted, I think 7 or 8 nail shops there. But Geneva is a downtown. It's over a half mile from east to west and even longer from north to south. Hardly walkable. For perspective here, from Presinos to GP on the north is about 0.2 of a mile. That's not that far at all. And Matt's right. The front door of the 17 South La Grange Road property is about 100 feet across the street from the front door, the current front door of the 14 South property. I don't even think we have Italian restaurants that are that close here in LaGrange. That really gets to me that would be a no-go, especially because I don't believe that much has changed in the perspective of a nail shop. They are low barrier to entries, despite the fact that they are specialized with the chairs that you won't find in a Sean Patrick or in a 10 West that also offer nail services, but it's more repair. Folks at 17 South are rather specialized, but it's still a low barrier to entry. And is it tough economic times? Are there other storefronts available in the downtown area for this type of business? I think so. And why would you want to change the rules when we've got a viable thing going here? It's kind of like you've got the penalty review in football. We've had a play here. It's been called, but somebody wants to make an alternative decision. We've got to look at what's changed. And I believe one of you said that. What has changed? I don't think much has changed that would allow 2 nail shops to be located 100 feet from each other. There's plenty of other room in town. The protected area doesn't extend farther south than Harris. All the other shops that have been put in town have played by those rules. So I stand here asking that you retain, and that was the staff memorandum title, I believe. Sorry, I kind of shuffled my paperwork around here. It's focused specifically on the distance that the nail shop required in order that it be maintained. And that's exactly what I think the challenge is here, that we maintain the distance as it's written in the code right now in order to keep somebody that's been playing by the rules a viable entity and not to change the character of a very sensitive area in the North La Grange Road area that we're trying to develop.
Thank you.
Can I answer any questions?
Commissioners, questions? Thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else who would like to talk about this case? Excuse me.
Hello. I'm Sean Murray from Sean Patrick Salon and Spa. I just found out about the meeting about 2 hours ago, so I'm pretty much not prepared for this at all. But I opened my salon in 1992, so I've been open for almost 34 years. I opened first one side, and it was predominantly hair. Then I took the spa next door. So I overtook that whole space. We were all nails and massage. That's predominantly what we did for quite some time. I know things change, business changes and competition is good, but over the years, things have come in. I no longer do massage. Massage Envy came in. They undercut us. I'm not a chain, so we no longer do that. I had 5, 6 nail techs working at a time. Nail salons came in. I still do nails. We do okay with it. And we do full nail service. We don't just fix nails. We do manicures, pedicures. So, I also feel that other businesses come in. Example, there's the salon that came in across the street. They came in just doing threading. Now they do waxing. They do facials. I do the same thing. A lot of nail salons also do waxing. We do a lot of waxing as well. So I just feel that, I don't know, it is a full service nail salon coming in, but I don't know. It's, just a lot of competition coming in. I've been here for 34 years, and I think we should all look at chains. I don't know if it's a chain or not, but that's all I have to say. And thank you. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Okay, so at this point, sir, is this pertain to case 285?
Yeah, thanks for insulting me. Jonathan Robinson, 16 7th Avenue. Basically, reading the staff report, all they want to focus on is the comprehensive plan, and they completely refuse to care about the code. The applicant and the staff keep quoting provisions from the comprehensive plan relating to requests of mixed and diverse uses for the commercial district. The intent of what you're striking out is to keep the same thing far apart. So you found 5 reasons to reject this amendment, but you're telling me that it's positive, it's the reason we're going to do this? Diversity comes, you're putting 2 nail salons next to each other. That's not diversity, that's not mixed use, that's the same thing. You can't make that argument reasonably. You even say in your conclusion that the mixed use is the reason why you recommend it, but you're putting 2 things of the exact same together by getting rid of this. It's completely opposite of reality. There's no intent for the code. You know, the code is, whether it was intended or not, gave Love Nails a monopoly in their area. They followed the law. They utilized that right given to them by the zoning code. It may be the entire reason they chose the space they have. You cannot just take the rights of that business owner away because someone is asking you to. Having a second nail salon directly across the street, I would expect to have a significant impact on the financial state of Love Nails. Per code provision 146053E, the amendment approval process requires considering the adjacent properties will not be affected by the proposed amendment. This is across the road. It is adjacent. It is not supposed to be affected. The applicant has the responsibility to prove that Love Nails will not be financially affected by this amendment. Some credible professional financial report should be required in order for the Plan Commission to approve this proposed amendment. The Plan Commission should not be taking simple assertions from the applicant to justify any required proof of meeting the code requirements for the amendment process. I have 3 specific code provisions that aren't mentioned either in the application or the staff report. The recommendations for approval is a very small section. It's 3 pages. I found 3 provisions that you refuse to discuss in the staff report and you refuse to put in the application. I have 6 questions prepared for cross-examination that I'll hand to staff to ask that regard to those. This extreme hyper-focus on the comprehensive plan and this complete avoidance of the zoning code is concerning. The zoning code is the law. That's the law. That's what we put in effect. That's what we're here to dictate. The comprehensive plan is an advisory piece. It's not the law. Have the code conversations. Stop just repeating what that applicant says and tying it to the comprehensive plan and forgetting the actual law. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other audience members? If none, I would entertain a motion to close the public hearing at this point.
Actually, we had a request for cross-examination of the applicant, so I have the list of questions.
Oh, I'm sorry.
If the applicant could come back up and address the questions, I think that would be the appropriate process. So the first question is that on the application, you answer on 3 separate occasions, this will increase the mix of commercial uses, but the amendment you're proposing puts the same commercial use directly across the street, where the original intent was not to have repeat commercial uses. Why does your answer appear contradictory in claiming removing the repeat commercial use provision will increase the mix of uses?
Well, I'll point out to that this text amendment is meant to remove what is arbitrary and capricious to singling out nail salons from a distance of other nail salons. I mean, it's a bit ironic to be having to present why a nail salon is justified when there's 5 pizza restaurants in the 2-block area, there's 4 coffee shops in a 2-block area, there's 5 salons. I mean, it's just a singled out element from the code from many, many years ago. You know, we have been marketing these spaces. We have 3 restaurants coming in. They're going to be competing with one another. They're okay with that because they all serve different products. So I think this is getting a little bit of away from kind of the intent of this text amendment, which is to make this more in line with other uses that are allowed by code. I mean, if this was a hair salon that had nails, we wouldn't be here. We would be allowed by right. I mean, it's just the code I have found over the last 2 years in working to find the right tenant mix in this project had been a bit contradictory in its own right, because the presentation itself had outlined that a beauty salon that has nails, it's allowed by right. There's no restriction here. So, you know, This salon is more of a nail spa. It's 4,000 square feet. The average nail salon is about 1,500 square feet. This investment into the space by the tenant is $750,000 into this space, which is nearly 3 times the amount of the average nail salon. So it's not to say that there isn't going to be some overlap, but there's no different overlap than saying that there's a Red Mango, a Rocky Mountain ice cream, there's a Cold Stone, all within a 2-3 block area, which is fascinating. They all have survived through these market downturns, because I'm an ice cream fiend, and in most municipalities, including River North Chicago, that many places can't survive. So if 4 ice cream places can survive in LaGrange for many, many years in the heart of winter, I'm very positive that another nail salon, which would still be under the amount of nail salons that this area can handle, will not be detrimental to the community, not to be detrimental to the welfare of the stretch of LaGrange that we're looking to reactivate. But that's my answer.
Okay, thank you. The second question is code provision 146053E requires considering that adjacent properties will not be affected by the proposed development. Can you provide documentation to prove there will be no significant financial impact to the adjacent property, specifically like nails? As a point of clarification, 146053E is a standard for amendments when it is applicable to a particular property, so i.e. map amendments rather than text amendments.
Yeah, it's different.
If you'd like to speak to
Yeah, I mean, I think it's just the same analogy of putting a restaurant here. How can I show that another restaurant's not going to have the same effect? I mean, the fact is business brings more business, brings more people. Every one of these users that we're bringing to this community are new to the community and are going to be bringing in people that wouldn't be otherwise on this stretch. So it's not possible to say that property values are going down or up. I can tell you that being next to a vacant bank branch, which is next to another vacant property that has recently been revitalized, is not a good thing for the downtown stretch. And this project that we've been working on so closely for the last 3+ years will greatly reactivate this stretch and will kind of fill the void that currently exists on this side of LaGrange.
Thank you. The third question, if you cannot provide documentation with your proof and rationale for knowing that Love Nails will not be financially impacted. If you feel like you've addressed the answer.
I think I addressed the answer. It's yes.
Say so.
Yes.
Code provision 14605 requires that an amendment can only be granted when the public good demands or requires it. What is your documentation, such as a signed petition for knowing the public good demands or requires this amendment?
Right. I think the presentation speaks for itself from staff, and I think this proposed amendment simply streamlines what is oftentimes a very complicated set of codes and ordinances, so that there's a standardized way to assess who can operate in a given district. And given that the uses are allowed and simply a proximity that seemed to at the time be singled out for nail salons, and I think looking 16 years later that there hadn't been some sort of giant wave of an influx of any type of use, should be evidence in its own right that life will go on and this business will survive, and other businesses nearby, if they want to stay, will stay as well. And I would also point out, once again, there had been a nail salon down the street that had recently closed, so that had not reopened. It's being leased to something else, just more of a side note. So, thank you.
2 more questions here in the list. If you cannot provide documentation with your proof and rationale for knowing that the public good demands or requires this amendment.
I think, as outlined in the presentation, that this is a cleanup in the code that probably should have occurred a long time ago, and happy to be the guinea pig of the project that is looking to have a real world example of why this would be okay. But at the end of the day, this streamlines the code. It makes this use consistent with other uses that are allowed. It makes it consistent with other communities. And I think the village already has a lot of code and ordinances to make sure that the business is upkeeping with first-class standards of LaGrange from build-out and operation. So.
Code provision 14602, which is the purposes of the amendments chapter, requires that this not be intended to relieve particular hardships. How is this not just your hardship in finding another tenant for the space?
It's not a hardship. We've been marketing this building for a long time, and we have tenants, and it's not a tenant lineup that we have had backups for. These are challenging spaces. These are big spaces. These are nearly 3 times the size of the average space on LaGrange Road, and this is a tenant that we've secured. We've indicated to staff on more than one occasion that we don't have tenants lining up for these individual spaces. This is a challenging space, given that it's a very long, deep building, because this is the former Chase Bank, that if you've ever been in there, it's a very deep space, nearly twice as deep as the typical space. So we've been able to design a layout within the building to allow for 4 retail spaces, 3 of which will front LaGrange and 1 that will front Calendar. But this is not a hardship so much that there's not other users out there, but we frankly have filled the building with the other users that are out there right now, and we're really excited about the overall lineup.
Thanks. Okay, thank you very much.
Okay, thank you.
Anything else, Dan? Okay. Now, I would entertain a motion to close the public portion of this meeting. Okay. Been moved and second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, the public portion of this meeting is closed. Okay, commissioners, thoughts, comments about the text amendment? Concerns, questions?
Well, if I may, the presentation and request is essentially motivated by a single facility at a single location. And it runs directly into a specific description in the code with regard to nail salons. But the point was raised, which was rather intriguing, that if this was not a nail salon and it was a beauty shop that did nails, it wouldn't be necessary to change the code. So I ask the obvious, I'm trying to figure out what has been modified over the past, since 2009. Did it have any effect on the development of retail services in that period of time? We really can't prove a negative or a positive on that right now. But I think the problem is that there appear to be other alternatives. They're normally available to the people who wish to do something in the community, but at the same time I can understand the frustration of being singled out. I'm still mulling this over a little bit, but I'm thinking that the specificity of this bothers me just a little bit in terms of trying to address a specific location as opposed to the generality, because when we have our meetings to amend the code, we're dealing with something which we have been presented, which is relatively broad and universal. The amendment would be flooded. The motivation to do it was different in terms of how did we get to the point where we had to change it. And I guess I just have to keep thinking about that for a little while here. So I'd love to hear what the rest of the commission has to say.
Does that concern anyone else? Thoughts?
I do share the same concern. I think you stated it very well, because I'm reading this and I'm glad you brought about the separation for restricted use. If we were truly talking about any changes over the course of 15 years in concerns, uses, over flooding, the C1 district with certain kinds of uses that historically the village and the board decided that they didn't want more than X in the downtown area, it seemed to me as I was reading these materials, okay, well, why aren't we talking about the waxing salons? Why aren't we talking about indoor rec? Why aren't we talking about co-working? Why aren't we talking about optical goods stores or any of the other, separation areas? It seemed when you're reading this, it was one store, and they can't do it, so let's amend the code to fit the store in to what we want. It seemed like that was the motivation. Now, that doesn't mean we don't move forward or not, but it's clearly, in my opinion, I agree, that was a concern as I'm reading this as well. And that's, it does raise a red flag whenever we're in that to effectuate a tax code amendment to address one user or one store, we're always hesitant. I mean, we've done when we feel the overarching good outweighs the appearance of accommodating one use. I just don't know if that's the case here, because what I'm concerned about is the concern that clearly existed when this was passed, that the village did not want nail salons to overwhelm the downtown district. Right or wrong, that was the decision. I don't know what has changed in that regard. And so I actually am curious if people have concerns about effectuating this, what that will mean by allowing by right any nail salon to come down. And do people have concerns that now you have a significant number of nail salons, which I do take the comment, which is in some ways nail salons do support people going, sitting together. It's all ages. It's not discriminatory against young, old, men, women, anything like restaurants. So is that a false pretense that we want a lot of salons? So I'm grappling with the same.
Anyone else grappling?
Yeah, I agree. I'm torn. I understand the need. We want to fill this building. We want to have businesses that are thriving and competition in our village to ultimately end up with the best product. But I'm concerned about the door that this opens, that any empty space filled with nail salons, and there is no retail component of a nail salon, just like a salon. So it could end up where we have limited retail then, because 3 or 4 nail salons have moved in, and there goes our whole character that the comprehensive plan contemplates of having a retail-oriented, walkable downtown. So that's my concern. I also kind of find, I know Table 1 is delineates the other uses that have restrictions. I kind of see this as the same thing. It kind of, to me, it fits into this table, even though it's not specifically in the code as nail salons. It's got a footnote that has restricted uses. To me, it's the same thing. And all of these things, waxing salons, very similar, co-working, and it all says on the same street. I mean, it's not around the corner. It's literally across the street. So I kind of put it in that same category. I think if these are valid, that should be valid. And if we take out that restriction on the nail salons, the next thing we're going to hear is the optical goods stores and the waxing salons and the children's indoor. They're all going to want that same text amendment regarding their specific uses. So that's my concern, is that it kind of opens a door that we may not be able to close.
Yeah, I'll echo what I'm hearing. I think that I have the same struggle opening the floodgates. And anytime we have a challenging property, a storefront that doesn't have an easy use, the challenge to fill with a tenant, I'm afraid that it'll be an easy out for a solution to see. So I can't wrap my head around it quite yet.
I guess I'd have to go the it seems like the way it was originally written, just against nail salons, seems like that was back in the day. I mean, this thing was just about nail salons. And, if you go the other way, are we really opening the door? You are opening the door for nail salons, but I'm not so sure it's opening the door to all the other businesses that Commissioner Egan reading down. They would have to go forward if there was another type of amendment needed. And I'm not sure it is the same case. I'm not frankly worried that there'd be a million nail salons here because, it's a free market. We do well with a lot of restaurants, but restaurants can come and go. We're obviously not going to have 20 nail salons. Maybe we'll have 4 or 5 more new ones, and if they all do well, they all do well. They support the downtown, they bring people in, there's flow, there's energy. I'm for the amendment as it's written, and I guess I'd encourage us all to take a second to read what the proposed amendment is, make sure we're all on the same page on what we're thinking of voting on.
The follow-up to you is the concern you expressed, or the lack of concern about the other 5 and separation. I think the concern that I had there that Julie was expressing is, okay, so you have a waxing salon that wants to put a new storefront in downtown in C1, and it's going to be within the 600 feet. And they come in front of us and say, I'd like a text amendment to remove the 600-foot separation requirements from the code. You just did the same for nail salons. What basis would you have to reject text amendment? What would you say?
I guess I would have to know what the business is, frankly. I got a fairly good idea in my mind what a nail salon is, what it entails. The other business might try. Any other comments, questions? Questions for staff?
Is it on the table for us to talk about, instead of undoing it, changing the amount of separation, or in this case, the distance between, or if we're concerned about influx of nail salons, if we're going to lift this like a cap from nail salons in the downtown. I don't know if that's even available. I'm just trying to be creative here, which is if there is a compromise to be made here that accomplishes both goals, that if people are otherwise supportive of this applicant, but we have the overarching concerns about what this might do, to address that in a different way.
Got a issue?
I guess I'd ask staff if that's even on the table.
So I would have to confer with our village attorney about the legalities of the cap. I'm not familiar with any zoning code that places a limitation on the number of establishments of a certain kind within a zoning district as a total cap. Other communities have different approaches. Some communities put the limitations, only within a certain area, or they might have a different separation requirement, or they might just require a special use permit, which is another way to have more oversight over a particular use and require the applicant to show that there is sufficient demand and need for that use. If the commission as a whole would like more information on other options, you obviously have the ability to you can either recommend approval of something different than what staff or the applicant has proposed. You also have the opportunity to continue the hearing to next month and direct staff to provide research on any number of topics that you might need more information on.
Suggestions? Anything that would make it easier? Wording that more comforting?
I'd like to be flexible here. I really would. It seems like it was arbitrary when it was put in place. Hey, there's this worry that's out there that never really materialized. So, part of this, yes, this was surfaced because of a specific need, but it's also, this probably should have been looked at 5 years ago when that worry didn't materialize. So for me, I'd like to see if there's a way to be flexible. I do think it's something that perhaps should not have been proposed. But now we're in the situation where it is in place, and we have to deal with it. So I do want to be thoughtful about that.
I just feel that we're looking, this case, but we're looking more at what other cases bring is what the issue is, and I guess I'm just focusing on this issue right here that's for us.
But I think you have to just relate, because that's the underlying intent and reason why current text exists the way it does, is to avoid that exact scenario. So to ignore that as a component of this, to me, would to ignore the entire intent behind why this was done in the first place. So I think if we're talking about getting rid of it because we think the intent no longer exists, that's fine. But I don't think we can ignore that as part of the discussion. I don't think, my point is, I don't think we can only look at the four corners of this case, because I do think there is an overarching that goes beyond just this use in this building. And that is, why was this put in place? Why does the table of separation exist? That's a real issue for the village. It has been. Now, if we're going to make the decision that we think it no longer applies, fine. But I think that's something that we have. It should be part of the discussion. I think they are linked.
Then I would like to go back to Kevin. You gave the presentation originally and saying how this came in. Rehash that again.
So I found a recording from 2009. It was on DVD, listened to it, and it was about a 4-minute discussion. So it was not at length, really not at length. I'd like to emphasize that. And they just kind of seemed to discuss how, due to the economic conditions of the time, they really did not want a lot of this type of business popping up. Once or twice, the economic condition of the time was mentioned. So for us, that was, it also was part of a larger set of text amendments at that time. 2009, they were doing a review of various text amendments, and when I say it was a 4-minute snippet, it was a 4-minute snippet of a larger discussion. So that was really all they had. And they just talked about the need to prevent low barrier to entry businesses taking over downtown.
Were they specifically saying nail salons or was it a general discussion?
Specifically nail salons.
Thank you. I'm looking for a way forward. I don't see much more discussion. Or I think you guys need to know. Anything you want to change?
Have we ever separated sides of the street? And I say that because, in my opinion, if you're on LaGrange Road downtown, in some ways the separate side of the streets are different. I'm just curious if that
Does, because you get killed walking across.
Exactly.
It's a world of better.
I know we're part, we're kind of drawing at straws here a little bit, but that to me is something I've thought about is if you keep a restriction, but you have, separate sides of the street, and does that, people think that's silly, or is that?
Give me something specific. What are you saying?
You could keep some restricted use or separation restriction on the same side of the street in C1 district. So come up with however many 100, 200, 300, 400 feet in the same. Now, does that go at the fact that this is trying to force this case in? It's the same issue. I acknowledge that. I acknowledge the hypocrisy.
You run into a problem around the corner then. What's the same side of the street?
find creative solutions to be flexible, and so I think that's kind of thinking about this in a unique way, and maybe there are other ideas like that that we should explore. Dig into this a little bit to make sure that we have something that's flexible, as mentioned, but also something that addresses our long-term concerns and not just thinking of as one individual case. I like the idea to find a solution that might benefit everyone.
I can't remember from the presentation, is this the only case that is a radius of 400 feet? The other limitations, 600 feet on the same block?
So commercial food preparation facilities must not be within 400 feet of any portion of any other zoning lot on which another commercial food prep facility is located. So commercial food prep facilities and nail salons are the only ones with the 400-foot any zoning lot buffer.
But the others are 600 feet.
Yes.
Like, they're not radius, they're 600 feet.
They're 600 feet on the same street.
Totally different.
Totally different. One's radius, one's...
Yeah. And the 600 feet on the same street, is that both sides of the street?
Yes.
Okay.
There are other provisions in the code not related to separation of uses, but in some of the parking standards and things like that that refer to within the same block, which I think is speaking more to what the commission is discussing currently, what we would commonly call a block face, which is one side of the block facing a particular street.
How do you distinguish between blocks? Is he one?
A block face would be all of the properties on that block that face a particular street. So, for example, in variations, we look at the block face of all of the properties on a residential block when we're looking at, relief for a setback or something like that on the front yard. So we look at all of those properties on that block face.
Okay, when you have a corner lot, which I believe this is, which block is it?
Well, this unit would front on LaGrange Road. It's a portion of the building, so its frontage would be LaGrange Road.
So in our downtown, how many blocks are there? 4? 3?
4.
4.
On LaGrange Road, there's 8 block faces.
I'm understanding your definition of a block face. There's 8 block.
As we're discussing it for these purposes.
And does Chase take up a whole block?
Apple. Because it goes to the alley.
Alley doesn't count?
No. An alley is considered a secondary means of egress and access to a property. It's not a street, so it's treated differently in the code.
So presumably, if there was the portion of this text read no others along the same block face, presumably 17 and 14 would not be in violation of that portion.
Yes, you could correct it that way.
And that would presumably put some degree of restriction on how many nail salons pop up.
Well, right, that's right. Just an attorney, math major also.
I was under the impression that we no math.
But that does help us, right, as we're trying to narrow it down but be more flexible and kind of future-proof this. I think that is chipping away at our concerns here.
It solves for too much density.
Yeah, that block face, I think, makes the difference. And you add that into the language.
So to be clear, we want some limitation. This gives us some limitation rather than us running rampant with. How does this work for you?
Certainly gives you more flexibility.
O'Connor, does that give you?
I agree that the proposal was to look at block base.
That's what we're talking. We're just banding around.
Continue.
Yeah, it helps me. I mean, it's what was contemplated in 2009 hasn't come to pass. So, but in the spirit of that, this is the way to define it based on the knowledge that we have.
Although I do point out that it's difficult to prove a negative because the restriction was in place to specifically avoid it coming to pass.
I'm just still a little concerned with the disparate treatment that those businesses have in Table 1. They're still required to be 600 feet. I don't know. I mean, I think, yes, you're moving closer to having some limits if you're limiting it to basically one per block face. But I look back to what the original intention was, and I don't know that the newest comprehensive plan has kind of changed that purpose for our downtown. So I don't know that the block face gets me there. That doesn't mean that you need me necessarily, but that's...
Offenberg, does it get you closer?
I guess it needs to be closer. I'm not sure I'm there yet either, but I guess let me challenge. So I think it's worth the discussion. Oh, sorry. I actually do think there's a distinction between what are in the separation requirements versus the radius, in the sense that I look at these 5 and I think, maybe with the exception of children's indoor recreation, which poses different, I think, concerns why we don't want a ton of those. Some, but not a ton. But even, and again, I share your, I guess, lack of what a waxing salon appeals to in terms of the wider base. I think nail salons have a wider base in terms of traffic flow, density, bringing people to the downtown, people doing things together, right? I know for my girls are from college, they're going to the nail salon with my wife. That's a community activity that oftentimes takes place. Whereas optical goods store, waxing salon, again, I'll put children's indoor rec aside for a second, co-working and commercial food, that is not to me about community building and bringing people together, which is why we wouldn't want a lot of them to the downtown. I guess I'm questioning if nail salons truly are in that. So that's why I think there was a perception about nail salons 10 years ago, which is very different. Let me admit that, which is, I think, evolved.
Staff, would you seriously writing something that limits it to block faces?
Right, so your recommendation, if you want to move in that direction, would be to recommend the revisions as presented on pages 8 and 9 of the staff memo, but with an additional limitation under 5109J for nail salons that limits nail salons to no more than 1 per block face.
Not a vote, does that sound reasonable? Commissioners? Discussion on that? Peruse the proposed amendment as it is. Give them a chance to read through it and hear what the staff has said. Anyone agreeable to make a motion? The text amendment as proposed on pages 8 and 9 with the addition to staff as okay. We've had a chances. Anyone like to be brave enough? Charity, if we can hear it one more time, please, for what the limitation would be.
So what's in the staff memo right now for 5109J, the suggested language for use limitations would be nail salons. Any nail salon located on the ground floor in the C1 zoning district shall not include suite-style arrangements where individual salon stations are enclosed and not visible from the public right of way. What the commission has discussed is adding an additional sentence that no more than one nail salon may be located on the same block face in the C1.
And do we have to define block face, or is that a real thing?
It is a planning term of art. We can add a definition into our zoning code for block face for clarity.
Okay. That would be advisable. I would like to move to approve the text amendment as presented by staff.
I'll second.
Been moved and seconded. Time for a roll call vote.
Pace,
Aye.
O'Connor,
Aye.
Egan,
No.
Hoffer,
No.
Mosher,
Aye.
and Went.
No.
So now at this point, if another commissioner would like to propose a different motion, you can vote on a different motion,
Sure.
or it can stand with that motion failed because it didn't receive 4 votes.
Sure. Anything that would push it over the edge? We don't want to push it over the edge? We don't push it over the edge.
Is there consideration, again, to give the opportunity for either the applicant to work with staff and the attorney to talk about whether or not there is some other, like a cap or total? I think that's where I'm still getting caught up here.
Okay. I think we just proposed a cap.
The cap is still 8, and is there any other way we can, because I'm looking at the statistics of other places in the downtown, nobody comes close to 8 in their downtown. But now had, 5? And so even when they didn't have, or may have, got 4, got Geneva at 7, which is, I think, much bigger than us. You have Glenelg at 5, Wilmette at 3. So I would love to know if there are other options here that aren't going to run afoul of what the village attorney tells us we can.
That's reasonable. Let's look at all the available options.
So that would be a motion to continue the hearing to next month.
I'm just trying to preserve the option as opposed to it being.
Oh, okay. Your attorney said you need a motion to continue this.
Unless people don't agree, you can just let it be and let it go to. And just by clarification, Charity, for process, no is a we're a recommendation board. So this is still going to go in front of the village board.
Yeah. The question is, even though it's a no, this would go for the village board.
It would go before the village board. However, it would be a little complex because this is a text amendment. This is a legislative action, right? It's not we recommend approval, we don't recommend approval of these plans that the applicant presented. So that will be the challenging part in presenting an ordinance to the board because we would not have a recommendation from the Plan Commission as to the specific item to present. Obviously, staff presented something that's different than what the applicant initially suggested as the language. We added some additional If the commission is, desiring of hearing any additional testimony tonight, you also can choose to reopen that to hear any additional commentary or testimony you'd like to hear.
I'm sensing that the applicant wants to speak again. So, do I have a motion to reopen and hear more testimony from the applicant?
So moved.
Second. Favor? Aye. Opposed? Meeting is just open again.
Just very itchy.
Yeah, I can tell. You were still under oath.
No, thank you. I've been listening to all the commentary, and I just want to point out a few things, and I have a suggestion, because we've been through a similar thing before. I mean, part of the intent of this code, is the text amendment, is to streamline what seems to already be allowed by right. I mean, I will tell you that if this doesn't go through, we have a 5,000 square foot salon that has nails. I could do that without coming here, okay? It will impact a lot more businesses than the nail salon that only serves nails. And that's not by any means a threat. It's simply to point out the arbitrary nature of this singled out aspect of the code. I would also tell you, from having developed in nearly every community around here, that the distance, the radius, that is a very difficult and somewhat arbitrary measure of code as well. And a lot of municipalities opt to go the special use route for any uses that might be questionable, so you can assess the facts of the given circumstance. But here's an example. You apply the same code to pizza restaurants. You say you can't operate in town if you're within 400 feet. You have one pizza restaurant on your stretch. It's not good. It's horrible. It's run down. It's dirty. You don't want to eat there. That pizza restaurant is holding up the ability for other places that want to come into the market to operate a pizza, because you can't operate within 400 or 600 feet. It's a very simple analysis, and the fact is you can look up and down the downtown. You have a very vibrant downtown, and these types of standards are really applied to just whether the existence of a place or not. And I don't know that in a common, in a fluid marketplace where businesses open and close on a regular basis, that the existence of an establishment nearby should be a measure on its own whether somebody else could establish themselves here. I would also point out that we undertook a very big risk with buying this property as part of the Chase redevelopment. We have redeveloped what will end up being nearly 25,000 square feet of building in downtown stretch. And we have basically, we'll be bringing online about 15,000 square feet of new commercial space to the street that did not exist before. Chase Bank occupied the entire building. So one thing that we've done in the past to put some measure to ensure this can't run amok and you're just going to get nail salons or any other use for that matter, is that if it's part of a larger redevelopment over a certain square footage, that there's certain standards that have to be met. And we are redeveloping a lot of space here. If I had one 2,000 square foot space, I wouldn't have brought this before you, because I would have had two restaurants that would have taken it. I would have gone that route and moved on. I have a lot of space to lease, and if we don't lease this space, we're not starting the project. We physically cannot get the financing in place from the lender. We have backups that are inferior to this option that will be bringing in a lot less traffic, a lot less energy than what we were proposing. But perhaps some sort of measure that, since we already have a redevelopment agreement on file with the village as part of the larger project, that there could be some additional measures to protect that you have discretion. I like the block face. That's a very good measure. You're not going to have them on the same block. But I can assure you that this is not opening the floodgates to any business. And the fact that you haven't had 25 applications of such is proof evidence that that's not going to happen. But perhaps something, if it's tied to a larger redevelopment, a planned unit development, something that shows it's a bigger scale development where we may need some more discretion than what the village code allows, may be a mechanism, since we went through a very complicated, long, detail-oriented process with the village and the staff and attorneys on agreement to redevelopment plans for this project. And I think what we're asking for is very reasonable. I think will be a big addition to the community. I don't think the distances really is the right measure for any type of code. I think the special use is a much more transparent process anyhow. But I think in order to get this passed tonight, we have no problem agreeing to the block place. You can agree to square footages or something like that, but it's really important that we find a path forward here. So I ask for you to consider that with staff as you look at the revised motion.
Thank you. Yes, sir. Were you sworn in earlier?
Yeah, I did agree.
You did?
I
Okay.
can be sworn in again. Yes, my name is Alan Foreman. I reside at 56 7th Avenue. Just a quick observation regarding block faces. I believe if you look at the property index numbers And if you look at the 5th through 7th digits, I think those are unique to blocks. So just a thought as to how you try to define block face.
Interesting, thank you. Okay. Yes, please, go ahead.
Rocky Mountain is not an ice cream store, it's a chocolate store. Old Stone's an ice cream store. Forever Yogurt is a yogurt store. They're all different. They all appeal to different tastes. Not like a nail shop that does nails. The thing I want you to focus on is the information I handed out with the maps and the illustrations of Glen Ellen and Geneva. Neither of those examples chosen by staff have nail facilities located closer than 400 feet. We have 2 blocks out here. Burlington to Harris, Harris to Casa. 2 blocks. The 400 feet radius, or 400 feet, whatever it is, goes to Harris. Plenty of other places to capture all this additional nail business. The text amendment, the amendment was about the distance. Let's focus on the distance. And it's not 100 feet. That doesn't work. I would have a very tough time explaining how we decided to put 2 businesses next to each other, across the street from each other, at 100 feet distance. And I think everybody would.
Thank you.
Jonathan Robinson. He just stood up and told you exactly what this is, and it's a personal hardship, or it's a company hardship. It's his hardship, and he's using this process for his relief, which is exactly what this process is not for. He nailed it when he said that doing this code revision to make this one person happy is ridiculous. And going out of your way to try to find a way to make it work for this one person while you're sitting there hurting the existing shop that played by the rules, that came in here the right way, that most likely had a financial plan when they walked in the door, that was like, hey, nobody can be within 400 feet, and you're just going to take that from him because you want to make this guy, what, happy? So this one individual deserves all this time, all this attention, and all this code change? Is that really what this is about? This is his hardship that he's trying to use to get out of it by rewriting our code. That's not what the code is about. That's not what the law is about. That's not fair and that's not reasonable.
Sir, were you sworn in originally?
No.
Okay. Okay, do you swear that the testimony you're about to give is the truth to the best of your knowledge?
To the best of my knowledge.
Go ahead.
My name is John Pluto. I reside in LaGrange. I've been here for 46 years. I've watched the downtown district from sheer ruin to coming back from a TIF district, which brought the downtown district back to vitality. These text amendments that you people want to change and redo, there was a lot of thought in these things when they were originally made. They were there to protect businesses and not let the village get overrun with multitudes of the same thing in the same place. It was like when we had video stores and then video stores went out. I think the way the text amendment is written is a logical answer to keep a balance in the downtown district, and changing it, I don't know if it's going to do us any good, you know. And to having a gun put to your head about you're going to pull a project because you can't get that nail salon there, I don't know if that's the answer to getting your way, you know. It's it just gives a bad taste in my mouth that you people could be swayed one way or the other by a strong arm tactic. And is this the only time I'm going to be able to speak tonight?
You have the floor right now.
Well, I'm going to speak on a different subject, so I don't.
It's just on this subject.
Yeah, okay. Just as long as I can speak again, I will.
It'll be an open discussion.
Gotcha.
Anyone else? Okay, then we got to ask for a motion to close the public part of this meeting. So moved. Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, public portion is closed. Okay, now, we've heard from any members again. That change anyone's mind? Let's make anything easier. Is there anything you want to adjust that you think would help?
So for me, I'm still against a text amendment for all the reasons that we've already discussed. I don't know how planned development would affect this, because I know they did have to apply for that, but maybe it would be specific to this property. That might be something to, as the applicant indicated, it might be something to consider. I don't know.
Staff, I'd like to hear your comments on that.
So this property is not the subject of a planned development currently. There is a planned development for Uptown LaGrange, and then we entered into a redevelopment agreement, a three-party redevelopment agreement with the village, GW, and Chase Bank regarding the amendments to the planned development and the renovation of this existing 14 South La Grange Road building as part of that larger change to the Uptown LaGrange planned development. So hopefully that helped clarify.
This is a nice idea, but any thought changes?
Oh, so if there's a development agreement that affects this property that you said was entered into by the village, Chase, and whom?
And this property owner, GW.
Property owner. So what would prevent an amendment to that being proposed related to this as a special use or something along those lines?
Well, currently nail salons aren't a special use in our code, so I don't know that the development agreement can be used as an avenue to allow for something that isn't allowed by code. However, if the Plan Commission wishes to change nail salons to a special use, then this applicant or any other could avail themselves of that process.
Because I'm not seeing any movement here. If I'm reading it correct, then we basically are 3-3 and motion fails. Am I reading the room properly?
Yeah, I like the application, I like the plan for this building. I appreciate that the applicant and owner is putting a lot of effort, and the tenant is putting a lot of effort to redevelop this property. And, just looking at, again, this is my, I have a significant issue with addressing property through text. I know that's theoretical, but I find that problematic. I just do. It's
one property or one type of business?
In this instance, it's not different. This is one property. They're trying to change the text for the downtown, which is the center of the entire village, to address one use in one property. And that's why I'm trying to think about creative ways to solve this without overarching text amendment, which, while I understand maybe things have changed now versus when this was done in 2009, I'm not sure it is that.
So it's 2009, would it have been one amendment for one property?
I don't know. What do you mean?
Well, they put it in so there wasn't a proliferation of nail salons. Was there just one nail salon
I don't know, speak to what existed, but obviously there was a concern enough that did that.
I'm more concerned about, I'm not concerned about that. I'm concerned about happening right now, right now. If we can't come to a deal, have to leave it as it is. Is it a vote? Would you, I guess I'd like to hear from you. Would you agree? No movement? You can.
Yeah.
Commissioner Mockingbird?
My only thought would be is if there's a way, if it works for the applicant or the commission wants, but whether or not consider to consult with staff and council. There's solutions that can be done here without this rising.
Are we willing to?
Is that something we can specifically ask officially?
Asking for a continuance? I'm sure we can. I like the applicant's idea instead. Call it a salon. Call it a salon. Not a nail salon, it's just a hair salon now. Nails. What's the difference?
Well, understood. I think I've raised that issue earlier.
I mean, it's just as devious. Okay, so if someone wants to propose a, currently, right now, we have a failed motion that we're not passing this text. Someone would like to move to have a continuance. Looking at staff now. Is that appropriate?
The commission can make a motion to continue the hearing to your next meeting. We would, because this is a special meeting because of Veterans Day last week, we will need to notice for a special meeting date in December if we are to hold it in December, because your regular meeting date, we're outside the public notice window. All right, well, I guess we don't have to renotice, so never mind. I take that back. We can continue it to a date certain to your next regular meeting date in December. So that is an option. You can choose to consult with the applicant on if they would prefer a continuance or just move ahead with no positive recommendation to the village board, but it is at your discretion.
I guess before we consult with the applicant, I guess I'd like to hear from the commissioners what we're looking for. We're consulting, we have to give the village attorney some guidelines that we're looking for. We just can't continue it, hope something changes. What are you looking for? What do you want to know?
I'd like to see if there's other solutions to address the proposed use without it being accomplished by way of this text amendment. Are there special uses? Are there planned development amendments? Are there other ways to address this? Are there caps on the block face that we can, and then, or two to that is, if the only way to do this is with the text amendment, are there further restrictions we can place on that, like a total cap on the number of, say, nail salons in the C1 downtown district? If there's answers to any of those or all of those that the village attorney give, that's what. And to your other point about the solution that the applicant said, which is they can just convert this over to hair salon and then have it be ancillary to the house. Well, if they're entitled to do that under the code, then they can. I have no problem with that. And if that's what works and that's what they can work out with the village, then that's great. Where this comes back to me, is addressing a text amendment, address one use. Like I said, I actually think the proposal is a good proposal. That what they're going to do to the building looks great. I have an issue with how we would achieve that, singling out one applicant, accomplishing the text code to accommodate that one.
I guess guess at this point, I'd like staff to just summarize for us, mainly for the applicant, to say what happens when we reject this now, and what the applicant can do, or if we ask for a continuance, and what that does to the application.
Sure. So the two options that the commission's discussing, one is that another motion is not made or another motion is made and fails, then this hearing would be concluded. The item would move to the village board with no positive recommendation from the plan commission, which is effectively a negative recommendation from the plan commission. And then the village board would be presented with essentially what the commission was presented with tonight, which is the applicant's proposal plus whatever staff recommendations for additional language cleanup as would be appropriate. The other option, if the plan commission chooses to vote to continue this hearing, you would be voting to continue the public hearing to Tuesday, December 9th, and with a request for staff and the village attorney to consult and provide options on alternative ways to continue to regulate or limit nail salons in the C1 that are not what was presented this evening.
On timeframes for the applicant, just pushes it back a lot.
Yes, effectively.
For 3 weeks. I don't know what the board's schedule is.
The board's meeting December 15th in December because of some other legislative priorities and holiday schedules. They're consolidating the two meetings into one, so they're meeting on Monday, December 15th.
So this time to get into their meeting
If you continue, it will go to January. If it advances as it is this evening, they would go to December 15th most likely. If you continue, then your meeting would be December 9th, and the application would be presented to the board in January.
Well, so like assuming the continuance
Results in some recommendation.
Right.
Well, even if it does not result in positive recommendation at that point, I think I would hazard a guess the commission would be feel like you've exhausted all of the information and had your information to make your choice, and we're ready for it to advance to the village board.
And at this point, I'd like to ask the applicant, do you have any ideas?
Yeah, I appreciate the colorful conversation tonight. I would ask of those two options for a deferral, and speaking to my operator, she's likely to just consider to modify the offerings to be more expansive than just nails, to offer other services that way more in line with the salon, and will comply with the zoning. They'll offer waxing and other things that, has been contemplated. So if that's the easier route here than making a change in the zoning code, she has no problem doing that. So I would suggest of the two options to do a deferral, and I'll work with staff on amending our plans within their layout to comply, and we'll be whatever is considered.
I'm not sure that's the same thing.
Well,
if you're proposing something totally different.
Well, it would be, I would say, of the two options, doing a continuance for that, and we'll work with staff on
the
determining.
Continuance would be to come back with a totally different plan.
Well, I would say, I don't know if there's an option. Well, I think tabling it or continuance, I mean, we potentially may not come back if it turns out that the plans we present will be considered a beauty salon, in which case.
Then you don't need
So I want to just work with my operator, but she had contemplated before, and honestly, when they did their initial planning, had not known at the time of how specific the changes were within the code, that one's a nail salon, one's a beauty salon, but we're understanding the colorful commentary and the split decision right now. We do not want to have a vote, 3-3, and at this point, if there's a way to avoid any further vote, we'll do our best to make that happen, and if not, come back with an alternative. So
that fit your schedule? Okay. So, Commissioners, you're clear on that. So if we go for a continuance, chances are then that ends our participation.
Just to be clear,
Yes.
the motion needs to be continuing the public hearing to Tuesday, December 9th.
Okay. So moved. Your second? Been moved and seconded. I'd like a roll call vote, please.
Hayes.
Aye.
O'Connor.
Aye.
Egan. Aye. Hockenberg.
Aye.
Mosher. Aye. And White.
Aye.
Okay. Continue this meeting on December 9th, I believe. Thank you much. Okay. At this point. That's colorful conversation. Okay, so general discussions from the audience. Is there anyone who needs like the podium? It's just general now?
Yes.
Not specific to the case?
Exactly. Al Foreman again, 56 7th Avenue. I'm going to rewind to the project on 112 East Burlington, aka Jackson Storage, right? Just a couple of comments. I attended the previous meeting, and it was well attended. And of course, the meeting package came out like 4 days before the meeting, and it's like hundreds of pages. I don't know how you all digest all the information you need to. But I think it would be great if you could consider, if you find yourself in that type of public hearings environment again, to stream the meeting. I'm not sure if you have logistics issues or not, but for people that couldn't attend, or just to make sure that everybody understood what was said, etc., streaming that significant of a meeting, I think would be a good idea. So just a humble suggestion. Two other points on that project. I know there was approval with conditions. I think it was a dozen condition items. So I'm simply curious, who owns resolution of those conditions? I mean, who will determine that they've been satisfied?
Generally it's the applicant would work based on what we said. And specifically, we're talking, let me just throw out one, we're talking about the balconies overlooking the south. So the applicant thinks about it, proposes something to the staff, and then they hash through it and see if it goes to the intent of what we're looking for, basically. It doesn't finalize anything, but it just, their attempt to provide what we're looking for.
Okay, understand. Basically what I was trying to get to is, it like, does staff give the ups or downs on it, or does staff have to come back to this commission? Right.
This is just to hone the project more, so that when it goes to the village board, they have a complete package. We've reviewed it, they've changed kind of on what we're hoping for, then the village board gets to see it, and then they have to, nothing's approved until the village board looks at everything.
Okay, thank you. And that gets my last point. Are there any headlights onto when you think this will be going to the board? I mean, simply before the end of the year, or does it spill to next? I think it's important for folks to know the timeline and what energy we have here.
It depends on when the applicant does all that work. We've suggested a lot of things. I'm not sure where the applicant is at this point, but once he turns everything into the staff, it goes through the regular process of notifying everyone when the meetings are ready. You could, staff could use to summarize basically how you get documentation.
Certainly. So the applicant's provided with all of the conditions the applicant's provided all of the conditions of approval of the recommendation from the Plan Commission. They have to go back and revise their plans. They resubmit to the staff. We have to circulate that to all the appropriate people for review. There may be additional corrections that are needed based on any number of things. If that's the case, then that goes around again. The applicant's team creates those corrections or edits and then resubmits, and then we re-review. So depending on how long that takes and our publication deadlines for village board agendas, that determines when it ends up on village board agenda. We will certainly have information on the village website when it is on a village board agenda. The earliest it would possibly be would be December 15th, but that is not certain.
Okay. Thanks very much. I know it's a fluid situation, but I appreciate your transparency on the topic.
Good questions.
Thank you.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
Excuse me. Hi, it's good to see everybody again. My name is Lauren Whitney Swindle, and I live in LaGrange. And the last time I was here, I was pretty tired. I'm tired again. I sleep 3 to 5 hours, and I have 5 children, and it's hard with a full-time job. So when I last spoke at the end, I said, give me a second, please. I said, oh, insurance, that I'm in the carrier world. And this is for my conscience, just so things are totally clear. I understand the carrier world, insurance carrier. I understand the insurance carrier world just simply because I've been involved in the insurance claim industry my whole life, and I understand it very well. So I want to talk about, so first of all, I just want to get that clear that I'm in the insurance industry, not the carrier world, but they're intertwined. So I got that off my head. I want to ask about the, sorry, I'm closing my eyes, I don't have my glasses on, the SHPO report. Can I ask questions? Do I get a response, or am I just talking?
It's a general forum. You can ask. I'm not sure we will have a response.
Okay. So the 10-14 meeting agenda notes, it showed a SHPO report stating whether or not Jackson is historic or not. And it says it's not, and that's, well, not true. We all know that. That is an errored, misleading SHPO report, and the state was contacted, and there's a new SHPO report stating it is historically significant. And I did talk to Steve, who his office issued the SHPO report. It's very nice. He was kind of taken back that was not reflected within the agenda and also not talked about at the meeting, because that letter alone should delay this process completely, as research needs to be done. It is Art Deco, and it would be the 7th documented Art Deco Egyptian revival building in the state of Illinois. So tearing it down, kind of criminal. No, it is criminal, and it is very misleading. And we have that here in LaGrange. We should be very proud to have that in our community. And we should be very proud for that to spearhead preservation for LaGrange. That's incredible. Not only could it bring incredible lucrative businesses, but also keep LaGrange thriving for the next generations to come. I grew up in Stager Pianos. Maybe you know that, maybe you don't. Poor kid. Not a lot of money. My grandpa put a lot of wood floors throughout LaGrange. So I fell in love with LaGrange, hearing job site stories. And so the point is, where I grew up, which is by Chicago Heights did kind of the same thing. They tore down all of their historic landmark eligible buildings. I think one was actually. It was a Roosevelt Victoria Hotel in the downtown Chicago Heights area, and a developer came in and promised a lot of things in the 70s, 80s, something like that. Well, it's still empty because those promises fell through. People didn't want to bring their businesses. Flintco, steel, they left because it lost vision. That's just one of the many. Point is, losing that is very, very bad for not just right now, but for long-term home value also. So please think about this, and I don't know what else to say. I think I'm just talking because I love it so much, and I'm not the only one who loves it. There's a lot of people who do love it and will flock here just to see it if they know what it is, what purpose it's for, and keep LaGrange thriving. So thank you. Oh, hold on one moment. Let me make sure I said everything. Oh no, that's it. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments? Open comments?
John Pluto, resident of LaGrange. I guess one of my comments is, I spoke at that meeting about concerns of the sewer systems to handle that 39-unit building. And I don't know if I'm so much worried about the stormwater end of it, because that goes to 7th Avenue and that'll probably flood the Ogden Avenue, Burlington overpass anyway. But we don't care about that. But the other option is we're going to put 39 live bathrooms and kitchens on a sanitary sewer. And I believe, I didn't see the information where the sanitary sewer was going to go, and I don't know if we have evaluations on all those systems. Is that going to be public knowledge before the next meeting, so we could assume that this wouldn't be overdeveloped for the neighborhood?
I'd imagine that, we do have people who look into this in the village, employed by the village, and we have experts helping them. There was quite a report in the first go-around, and I'm sure on the second go-around, when this is going to go to the village board soon, next month, hopefully next month, there'll be a complete presentation on it.
Well, the reason I'm concerned is because that's all on combination sewer. And there's a combination sewer going down 6th Avenue that goes to Cossett Avenue. We know Cossett Avenue has problems all the way down to Willow Springs Road.
Yeah, I can only guess that the experts that we hire are taking this into account.
What I'm asking is there going to be a full report on the sewer systems being adequate to handle the density of that project?
I think that's the purpose of their reports. I'm not going to swear that that's happening right now.
Where will I be able to get them, and will I be able to get them before that meeting?
Well, I'll have to defer to staff on that one.
So the engineering review and a summary of the engineering review is typically included in the village board packet materials. Because of the questions raised at the public hearing, staff did ask our consulting engineer to provide specifically the percentage reduction of flow into our combined sewer system from this project as proposed as compared to the existing conditions. So that number will be available in the staff packet.
That will be not just it will be a formal document with the signature of an engineer.
I'm not saying that that specific letter may be attached as a separate file in what goes to the board, but that information about how much it will be reduced by the redevelopment of the combined sewer flow during storm events will be included in the packet.
I'm not worried about the storm events. I'm worried about the combination sewer that's going to go down 6th Avenue, because it's going to go 6th to Cossett in order to...
I would be happy to talk with you more about this offline specifically. I don't have the plans in front of me right now, but I believe their connection into the combined system is on 7th and flows north to Burlington.
Well, I will make arrangements to come in and see those plats. But my main concern here tonight is I want to talk about, I hadn't planned on talking at all, to tell you the truth, but it's the open space text amendment to PC 281, and that is the Open Space Act that began last February. And this is in regards to permitted uses and special uses in park districts and school districts. And what this is in regards to is the park district presented a program at one of your zoning board meetings to get this text amendment so they could move a basketball court or do hard-court surfaces wherever they wanted to in the park district. And this directly affects my neighborhood. I don't think any of you people live on the southeast side of LaGrange and are aware of the flooding problems that are around Sedgwick Park or any of those details, but we have some issues there. Now we're going to move the basketball court over to where it's actually a floodplain, which you people took and changed the... somebody left their phone here. Oh, that's a recorder. I lost my train of thought. But the problem we're going to have there is that when you change that text amendment, that took it from special uses to permitted uses. And with special use, it would have to, any changes in that park or school, and this is everybody that lives in this whole town that lives next to a park or a school, could now have something put up there and have no voice because there's no public meeting required to change the special uses. The hard surfaces could be put anywhere in a park. So you've, in effect, taken the voice of all the residents and taxpayers of this town, and we no longer have that right to come to a meeting and voice our opinions on that. And I also would like to ask if that also would allow storage vaults for combined sewer water storage, if that would allow those to be put in parks with no public meetings. Would you have an idea on that?
Those are very specific questions, and this is not something we have the expertise of to answer right now. I think it's the same approach that, you know, you can make an appointment with the village departments and discuss these type of issues with them.
What? Excuse me. You changed the text amendment.
Oh, yes.
Yes, and when you took the text amendment out, now we're in the dark. We're in the dark. And we have all the water from the south of 47th Street comes right down past 7th Avenue Park, right by my house. That's why I'm here. Because you're allowing the park district to move a solid court surface, plus they're going to put 3 to 5 feet of dirt on top of that park and force more water off on 49th Street. That's going to go, I have pictures of the handicap ramps by the baseball fields that dumps thousands of gallons of water onto 49th Street, which caused 10th Avenue, 9th Avenue, 48th and LaGrange Road, everything backs up because that combination sewer drains the whole south basin. I don't know if you people are aware of that.
You know, the water problem in LaGrange is top of everyone's mind. They're always trying to fix the water problem, and it's a citywide problem. It's worse in some areas than others, but believe me, the village is working on it. They don't have all the answers yet, and they're trying piece by piece, just like this, the new condominiums that they were proposing. All of the sewage flow analysts they did, they're trying to make it better than it ever was. And step by step, we're trying to make it better for the village. Now, we know it's not been great, and we've been working on it. I'm not sure what you would like us to say at this point.
Well, excuse me. We have to understand that we have a problem, and we keep kicking the can down the street, okay? I asked for a meeting to keep the people informed of what's going on in the South Basin, and we live under this cloak of litigation with the quarry that we can't speak about anything because of the quarry. Well, all you people, and when you voted to eliminate that special use at the Park District, you took our rights away, all as residents in the neighborhood. We have no control over it. Now they could put a septic tank in our park, and we might not have any voice in that either. Would you like to live next to a septic tank that has a vent in it, that never gets cleaned and there's bacteria running out of it? Because nobody's telling us anything about our sewer solutions here. And I surely would like to know exactly how we're going to handle it. Are we going to put Band-Aids on the problem and put a storage tank at North Campus soccer field?
Sir, you have very specific questions, and I don't believe this is the forum. And I understand you're aggravated, and you do have real questions, but this is not the forum to get these answers. You know,
it starts here with the Plan Commission, and you changed the text amendment. I didn't.
Sir, I understand we changed the text amendment, and in your opinion, it was not a good change. I understand that.
Do you think it was a good change?
Sir, I'm not litigating everything. This forum here it's an open forum right now. We understand you have complaints. It is being logged by the village, and your statement is out there, and we know it's a problem, and I'm not saying the village is going to jump on it and look on to address your problems, think you've made your point, and I think we should just carry on.
Do you want me to go away? Is that what you're saying?
I'm saying you've made your point.
Okay.
You feel you've made your point?
But you
You've
people,
made your point, sir.
you people
Sir,
are the planners
you've made
for
your
this.
point.
You
Do you want
people
to
are
say
the
no
planners
more?
of this
Okay.
village. You people are the planners of this
I
village,
understand.
and you control the destiny for eternity. If you make a good plan, that's
I'm trying to be
wonderful.
gracious.
You know
And
what?
to let you speak your point.
I
But
can't
at some
be
point in
gracious.
time, I have to cut you off because we can't be here all night long.
We listened to everything else about a nail salon. Okay, I sat quietly.
Sir,
I'm
you can stop
asking.
or no?
I'm asking
Sir, are
you.
you going to stop?
I didn't understand you.
Are you going to stop your questions?
Well, let me check my list.
You know, I would like. Otherwise, you know, we can continue this meeting if you'd like to come to the next meeting.
Well, I can come to the rest of them because I haven't missed a village meeting in 2 years.
That's great.
You know,
So
I'd just like to hold you people accountable for what you do.
we are on record. All our votes are on record. You can see what we have done.
I did. I checked.
That's great. You know.
Okay, but I'm telling you that you people are making the plans for this village, and you better take in consideration the residents on the east side as well.
Okay, it's on the minutes. We've heard you. Anyone else like to have a comment?
I'll be short. I spoke briefly at the last meeting about Jackson, and I just wanted to clear, pardon?
You need to state your
Oh, my name, Mayor Quillis. And I've been a LaGrange resident for 40 years probably. And just as an aside, we bought a house that was probably falling down. And my parents and his parents said, "Are you insane for buying this house?" Old Victorian. We rehabbed it and sold it for $600,000. That's just a way that people do things, kind of, in LaGrange. That's not my comment. My comment is it was intimated, I'm not sure if that's a real word, that Jackson Square Mall building is not insurable. I want to tell you right here and now, and I'm glad it's in the record, that's a lie. It's an out and out lie. I've been in there as a vendor and a staff person for probably 12 years. First of all, there's not a crack or dent anywhere in that building. If I was in a tornado, that's where I would go. And the second thing is, we were required, when the present owner took over, every vendor was required to buy insurance. All of us are insured. How did that happen if the building's not insurable? That's my only comment.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Jonathan Robinson. Basically, I apologize, but this process has been miserable, and I just need to get on the record what my side of this has been. I have had no help whatsoever from the village. I have been detested, pushed away. The only conversations I have had with the village attorney, they've been denigrating and they've been horrible. When this process started, as soon as I got my notice, what did I do? Like everybody else, I called and I said, "Can I have the plans?" You know what the response was? "No, you can't have those till 48 hours before the meeting." Why'd you give me notice if you don't have drawings for me? No one has still explained that to me. The next day, all of a sudden, someone calls because guess what? I had to send an email. I went into the code and had to pull the provision out that says you have to have the drawings for me the day you put out notice. I had to do that. Do you understand that the average homeowner doesn't do that? I had to do that to get the village to even think about giving me the drawings. So from day one, I call the village. They don't even know what notice is for. It shows how little we do this, and it shows what a ridiculously large project this is. The Jackson Square Mall is the biggest project that could possibly happen practically in this village. To put it through in one commission meeting is ridiculous. I also had issues that my original notice for the first notice had a cancel mark that was 14 days on the envelope instead of the 15 days required. I asked the village, why are we even dealing with 15 days? This is a huge project. Why are we treating it the same way we treat a project that has 2 more feet on a garage? And no one can answer that for me. But we ran the minimums. We did this in one meeting. That's unbelievable to me, but that's fine. Between those 2 issues, finally somebody gave me the drawings. You know how they gave me the drawings? 8.5 by 11 sheets of paper. That's how I received the drawings. Completely illegible. Completely. And so I had to ask again, can I have something that's legible? Is that a reasonable request? Somebody finally gave me 11 by 17s. Still, barely readable. All throughout this, I've been asking to simply get the digital files. I was told that it was impossible to email me the digital files. I'm a licensed structural engineer in Illinois. We move files all the time. How did the village get them? Why can't they send them to me? Finally, I think 3 or 4 days after this mess, I finally had to go get a USB drive to get the digital files. And so, because I had complained that they didn't follow the process, that they didn't get notice, all of a sudden I became this horrible person. And the village has refused to talk to me, refused to interact with me, and refused to care about me. Did I get an apology when they didn't have the drawings? No, you know what I got? I got a call from the village attorney, after hours in the evening. You know what that call was? It was berating me. I got told by the village attorney that I send too many emails and I'm wasting staff's time. At that time, I had sent between 2 and 4 emails to document what had happened to me, that I made a phone call, the drawings weren't there, and I was upset. That is what I had done, and I got denigrated by your village attorney. I don't think that's fair. After that, they did move the meeting back because they realized that that was incorrect and wrong. Somebody finally figured it out. So in between that time, before we got notice again, I sent 4 distinct emails, 4, to the village manager to ask for a simple conversation about what I should expect from the solution, what I was seeing from my side, and making sure this moved forward in a reasonable way. All of those requests were denied. So when you told me in that meeting that I should have talked to the village, I can't tell you how many times I have tried. My next issue, once we finally got notice again, was the notice nor the application contained a list of the provisions of the codes that were requested to be modified. The application actually says in one place the building is fully compliant with the residential building code, but then it omits some modifications a few answers later, and then it completely refused to disclose what those modifications were. So I'm sitting there with a set of plans and an application that says, yeah, we're violating it, but no actual list of provisions. So what was I supposed to review? What was I supposed to do with that? I'm going to tell you, I don't know. I actually hired, luckily, because I'm a structural engineer, I know an architect and I didn't have to pay much, but I had to get an engineer to look and see, are we messing the setbacks? Are we messing heights? Are we messing windows? Is the color wrong? Because no one gave me that list. I fought for 2 weeks to get a list of the violations directly adjacent to my property. And they told me no, and I continued to tell them they don't have a complete application if they can't admit what they did. They don't even know what provisions they did. That was the problem. They don't even know, and they wanted the village to call them out. That's our process here, and that's unacceptable. Once I finally got those lists of modifications so I could actually review it like a normal, reasonable person, I sent my letter to the agenda like I was supposed to. I still feel that that was not read or considered by the Plan Commission. There were specific requests in that letter, and they weren't addressed whatsoever. I still don't understand how a design review process can be conducted without a scale representation of my residents on the plan and perspectives. There are 2 other adjacent buildings that are shown. The design review process is half about the proposed building and how it integrates with the neighbors, specifically requiring it to be reasonably comparable in height, proportions of the front facade, proportions of openings, relationship of materials, and scale of the building. I can't find many ways my residence is comparable to a 5-story building in these ways. How can I not be on the drawing? How? How did you review that I had no adverse effects without me being on the drawings? What color is my house? Does anybody know? No, because I wasn't on the drawings. It would appear that the village wants to perform the design review as if it's a beautiful open public field beside my building, because that's the only way it has a chance of getting through that process. Would be, the second you put me on that drawing into scale, the design review process would fail in a heartbeat. The zoning code in America, one of the things I've learned, you know where it came from? In the 1920s, they started to build large buildings. and they started to encroach on single-family homes. And there was a rash of single-family homeowners suing villages because they said they lost value based on what was built next door. One of those made it to the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court ruled that a municipality has the responsibility to protect an existing residence from what's built next door. That is where the zoning code came from in America. In the early 1930s, that's what proliferated through this. The zoning code was built specifically in mind to keep single-family residences away from large buildings. That's what it was there for. The design review process is a direct descendant of that original requirement. And how you're performing it without putting me on the plan and completely eliminating me is ridiculous. The meeting agenda came out with a staff report. That was after my letter was sent in. I had immense concerns about the staff report contents, its technical competence and its reasonableness. I expressed my concerns to the village attorney in 3 separate emails and talked to him about getting more than 3 minutes at that hearing. 3 emails. Let me step back. This is the same village attorney that in a recorded phone conversation, instead of listening to my discussion points, he would cut me off and respond with variations of, "That is a great point, take it to the hearing." That happened on 13 separate occasions in that recorded phone call. 13 times I was told to bring it to the meeting. I believe I have more audio of your village engineer telling me to take it to the hearing than I got at the actual hearing. I came to the hearing. I tried 6 ways to Sunday to get a minute more time. It wasn't granted. After the meeting, I requested to provide the remainder of my testimony to the staff at a meeting at Village Hall. I even went as far as to say I didn't want a discussion, I just wanted to speak. That was denied as unreasonable. Quote, unreasonable. That was an unreasonable request to this village. I was told to continue to send emails. Emails are time and effort intensive, and it takes extensive efforts to create written arguments. I am assuming the village hope is that I would not put in the effort. I'm being denigrated, disregarded, and put these huge bars up to getting any idea or voice across. I've written multiple times and asked where I screwed up. Where was I supposed to put my concerns about the staff report into the record? I couldn't put it in my letter to you because the staff report didn't come out till the agenda came out. I specifically asked for more time at the hearing to be able to put through those things, and it was denied. And so I've asked time and time again, and I'll ask you the same way. Where did I screw up? Where was I supposed to present my concerns to the staff report? If it wasn't in the letter and it had to be after the agenda and I was only restricted to 3 minutes, where was I supposed to bring up those concerns? That's a legitimate question that somebody on that board needs to answer or somebody over there needs to answer. Where did I screw up?
I'll be honest, it's not an answering question, service right now. I think it's to get you on public record, and we're recording the conversations and it'll be in the minutes. So all your concerns will be aired. But I gotta be honest, there's a certain time when we've got to move on.
I emailed 13 separate points of concerns about the staff report because I took the time to do it. Last week, Friday, staff validated that all 13 points met the threshold of information that would be provided to the trustees in their meeting agenda. They said they will include those 13 emails as valid enough to be sent to the trustees. Can you explain to me how they're valid enough to be in the trustees, but they were not valid enough to be sent to you for your consideration? That seems ridiculously like a due process issue. And those are the same 13 points that I wanted to express in the hearing that I was prevented from doing. One of those points was complete misinformation about the number of school children that were represented in the development only had 2-bedroom units, even though 2/3 of the units are 3 bedrooms. And so they misinformed information about how many bedrooms in that report. So you made a decision with information on false information in the staff report. Still to this day, I haven't been afforded a meeting or a phone call with the village. Still. They still would continue to deny my requests and will not communicate with me, and I find that completely unbelievable. I had concerns about the meeting minutes. I had specific concerns, and I asked to present them before you approved the meeting minutes so you had a chance to reply to them. The first one is that no answers were given to the specific question posed by the public that were specifically recorded on page 28 of the meeting minutes. I had assumed those would be answered and included in the approved minutes. There were 3 distinct questions, 2 of them by one of the audience members here, and she verified that she never got answers and it was never put in the public record. I believe that was the crappy attempt at a cross-examination, but those questions were never presented to the applicant for review. The second issue is none of my requests included in my letter to the agenda were addressed. Most specifically, my concern about not being on the drawings and how a design review process cannot be executed without having a scale representation of our single-family house on the elevations and perspectives. Concern B from my letter specifically requested a written response regarding items number 3, A through K, which are every single way that this place needs to relate to my place. Because I don't understand how you can look at that and say that my house is to scale to this ridiculously large monstrosity. And that is the law, that is the rules, and it was never applied. The meeting minutes...
Sir, you've got to wrap it up. I mean...
I'm fine. The meeting minutes...
You've made your point.
No, I have not.
I think you have made your point.
Excuse me.
I have not made my point.
Stay home again?
Excuse me?
Are you going to stay home again?
Well, we're all a public meeting here.
I'd like to at least get through...
How long are you willing to stay? How long do we have to stay?
Last time, so we're...
Hey,
Okay, I apologize. I'm obviously losing my cool right now. But the commentary...
Let me put the rest of it on the record. I will be quick. I am somewhat close to the end. Let me go.
Define quick.
I have no idea. Let me just speak. You're wasting more time than we're accomplishing. Can you please just let...
We've listened for a long time, sir. How much more time do you need?
Let him talk.
I'm sorry. I understand.
What are you afraid of? Or what are you afraid of getting on the record? That's what it looks like when you do this to me. What are you afraid of me saying? Let me say it. They are willing to stay. They are willing to stay. You're the one who's not.
What will it take you to say?
I don't know. Let me talk.
Allow you to keep on going. If you can't keep us here all night.
5 minutes.
Give me 5 or 10.
No, sir. How long? How much longer?
I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 points.
No, sir. We've given you plenty of time to express your frustrations.
You have not given me plenty of time. Sir, you please do not join them in denigrating me. Please do not join them in a due process lawsuit. What you're doing is wrong. The last points are the true due process points.
Sir, you've made your point.
No, I have not. Let me finish my points, please.
No, sir, tell me how much longer.
Give me 10 minutes.
No, you can't have 10 more minutes.
Give me 9.
No. This is not a debate. Staff, what are my alternatives at this point? I think we have listened and given you ample opportunity.
That is absolutely untrue. What are they hurried to do?
Sir.
They said they could stay. They have no problem saying, why can't you stay?
Staff, what issues? What do I have?
So our general public comments is 3 minutes. Obviously, we've been going a little longer than that tonight because we don't have 40 people in the room like we did.
That is for a hearing, not open comments. Open comments do not have a rule that is published. You have no restrictions on open comment time. That is for a hearing, is 3 minutes. And so you need to pull up that. I have looked extensively and it is not posted online. You have no restriction in time. As long as I continue to move forward, as long as I make new points, as long as I am not cursing or being rude, and as long as I am moving forward, I should be allowed to speak.
Sir, this is not a filibuster.
This is not a filibuster. Please let me get through my last 9 points.
You've had plenty of time. I'll give you 1 minute to wrap up, and that's it, 1 minute.
I'll take the rest of yours and do them.
There is no time, ma'am. We're done.
Are you serious? Stop right there. That's illegal to the Open Meetings Act. Yeah. You just denied her access to speak at the open meeting.
Come on up.
No, that was a denial and we are going to leave. That was absolutely incorrect. Why are you afraid of what I have to say? Will somebody else please step up and say something?
Sir, it's not what you're saying, it's how long you're saying. We can only take so much. You understand? people are volunteers trying to help the village. And I'm not sure how long you've been going on, but if we gave that same time frame to everyone.
I am the last person, and you know that.
She's going.
Only when you cut me off.
Sir, take 1 minute and summarize. Is that fair?
There were several issues with the Meeting Act. The other issues, the conversation I had with the attorney and the chairperson was not recorded in the meeting minutes. That was a very important thing. The actual attorney spoke. It did not show up in the meeting minutes. It's very concerning. It was so concerning to me that I did report that to the Open Meetings Act of the State of Illinois, because I wasn't allowed as a separate entity as a structural engineer to represent the building, the 1611th Avenue. And that most likely has a very good chance of being a issue with the Open Meetings Act. They'll adjudicate that. You'll learn about that. But it's definitely a violation of your own conduct at your hearings. 14103C1, conduct at hearing, rights of all person. All person may appear and testify as a public hearing, either in person by a duly authorized agent or attorney. A duly authorized agent is simply someone you designate. We should have been allowed to pass time. And we should have been, and so they were right in 2019 when they passed time. And the attorney was wrong now to restrict that by your own code. And so you stifled people. And you continue to stifle me now. And this has been the most horrible process I've ever gone through. And I guess I need to call an attorney, and I guess I need to start with the fact that I can't even make all my points in an open meeting discussion, trying to talk about how my due process has been absolutely horrific. And I thank you for your time. Would you like to? These are my good ones, but whatever. Here, just read this one.
The idea that you can meet points of the...
Excuse me, ma'am, could you state your name for the record?
My name is Kirsten Robinson, and I live at 16 7th Avenue in the building that is directly to the south of the proposed development of the Jackson Storage Building.
Thank you.
The idea that you can meet points of the comprehensive plan and use a special permit that then the zoning code no longer applies is completely unreasonable. Construing the idea that the comprehensive plan supersedes the actual law is not acceptable. Such a comprehensive plan shall be, according to Illinois Code 65 ILCS 511-12-6 from Chapter 4, Paragraph 11-12-6, such a comprehensive plan shall be advisory and in and of itself shall not be construed to regulate or control the use of the private property in any way except to such part thereof as has been implemented by ordinances duly enacted by the corporate authorities. The zoning code is the ordinance and the law which applies above all else. The comprehensive plan is a second piece of information that is simply advisory to all parties to get parties in alignment. It is not the law. You've been leaning on the comprehensive plan, yet you haven't been applying it across the board to everyone. You're letting this developer push through this based on the comprehensive plan and completely ignoring the zoning code. And that is where I will leave it. Staff indicated at the end of the meeting that many additional letters have been written, which were not included in the agenda. Where were these made public, and were they all read and considered by the Plan Commission prior to their recommendation? I also have specific concerns about information not presented to the Plan Commission prior to them making their recommendations. One, for the public at large, staff said that a new SHPO report had been created. I think we covered that, so I will skip that. For myself specifically, the staff has determined that the 13 separate concerns I have made to them in writing, we did that already, they met the threshold for the trustees, but they weren't included. They weren't allowed to be presented to you. I have specific concerns about the 3-minute time, and I have serious concerns about not being allowed, or about my husband not being allowed to represent our neighbors to whom he has a professional relationship. And that is it. No.
Give it me.
Okay, here we go.
And then I think we've actually covered everything.
I take exception to only being allowed 3 minutes of time during the hearing. This time constraint is not an adequate amount of time for me as a direct neighbor to discuss all the various ways that all the proposed zoning modifications, 9 code provisions, adversely impact my property. 3 minutes, 9 provisions, 20 seconds per provision. 30 to 40 words in 20 seconds, 15 to 20 words in a sentence. So after saying that the provisions I was looking into, I would have exactly 1 sentence to convey my concerns. Please note there were other things beyond those 9 provisions on the table, such as rezoning, not having commercial in a building this close to town, compensating amenities, keeping history in LaGrange. This all seems unreasonable. I expressed these concerns my husband expressed these concerns in 3 emails to the village attorney about the situation prior to the hearing. And that is?
You know, your concerns, are you good?
Nope, I think I'm good. That is it. Thank you so much for your time. I do appreciate it.
I have one more comment, if you don't mind. I know it's getting late. It's really a question to everybody that's in this room. Are you guys getting the idea that no people who live in LaGrange want this to go forward? Are you aware of that? From the emails and the petitions and the attendance here. Can you guys answer a question? Are you getting the idea that the residents don't want this building to come down? That's all.
Hello, my name's Laura McGilligan. I live at 75 7th Avenue in LaGrange. First off, thank you for being here and staying so late and listening to us. And thank you for speaking, everybody. I just wanted to bring up one question that wasn't answered at the October 14th meeting. Commissioner Schwartz asked Spain, the new owner of Jackson Square, what evidence do you have that makes the building or is deemed unsafe? The owner did not give an answer to this question about why this building is unsafe. Instead, he pivoted and said, I can't use it for housing. Just because you can't make this a residential building doesn't make the building lack historical importance. Everything seems very rushed. This building has survived 122 years, and we, within one meeting, are ready to tear it down. Right now, there's an updated SHPO report that has not been included in the owner's application. I don't know if anyone here is made aware of that, but the building has been ready to be landmarked. It's been marked as historically relevant. To take that history away from LaGrange breaks my heart. It makes me want to move. And I came here to raise my family. I'm sorry, I'm getting so emotional. That's all I wanted to say. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Staff, are there any general announcements? No? Okay. I entertain a motion to adjourn the meeting.
So moved.
Your second? Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Meeting is adjourned. Thank you.